Okay, on what basis when they are trying to increase the punishment for the RUU 355? And can I ask that what about if after the 100 lashes and it seems that the jinayah has not been decreased, are you trying to say that we must increase another 100 lashes or increase another 100,000 ringgit to the
Thank you.
Point. A fair question. Let me elaborate this. Now, the law is as may be prescribed by the federal constitution. Now, as offences, okay, once we enact a law, right, we have a stipulate offences. If it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that we cannot increase the sentences, right? So the parliament may increase. It's up to them. But you forget a number of things why it has to be increased. Previously, a fine was 1,000. Now, 40 years ago, a fine of 1,000 is of no value. I mean, it's not of much value now. They increased in 84 for 5,000. Now they are proposing 200,000. 20 years down the road, it may not be sufficient. So what is wrong with increasing more than 100? So that is why it is. I do not know. I think let the parliament decide. That is what. And think as it goes along, if it is required to, let it be. Right? Similar with the sentences. And this is the same for civil offences. From time to time, they increases the high court jurisdiction. So it is not typical. So I think it is common. The value of fines will not be the same as you go along. Because of that, you may increase. And it has been done many, many times in the past.
But this is very important because this has been repeated by both of us, that RUU 355 is not a law that prescribes any punishment. It does not prescribe for 100 lashes. Bear with me. Why? Because it only provides for the jurisdiction of the state legislative assemblies to later decide and debate whether to pass laws. So basically, to ask such a question, what is the test for 100 lashes, if still cannot stop all these kind of bad things, do we need to increase? Such question is premature because at this level, what is being debated at the parliament is not to prescribe 100 lashes. It is not. Because if at all, RUU 355 is passed, there is no such offence with such punishment of 100 lashes. There's no such offence. Each of the state would have to then take it up, whether or not they want to debate, whether or not they even want to table an increment. It is up to them. This is the very principle of federalism, where there is a distinction between the power of the federal government and the power of the state government. The problem that we have now is that we want to shut the doors, the democratic right of the Dewan Undangan Negeri to actually have the right to even discuss this. So that question itself, to me, is premature. And then as to the second question, the genesis of RUU, some members of parliament being compelled and so on, I think it is important. We are all here lawyers, none of us are politicians. It is important for us to stick on the subject. Don't take politics into this. Let the politicians fight their own battle. We are here to fight this motion because we earnestly believe that it should be supported, not because of the politicians.
Could you please respect the speaker?
My question is directed to the oppositions. So basically, this is a simple question since you said about justice, fairness. So basically, I just want to mention there is a punishment of incest in penal code. The punishment that is prescribed for incest is not less than 10 years, and not less than 10 years, and not more than 30 years of imprisonment. While in Selangor Sharia enactment, the punishment is maximum of 500,000 ringgit of fine, 3 years of imprisonment, and 6 lashes. So how does this implies justice and fairness if we don't improve the jurisdiction of Sharia court?
If there is a federal provision, it shouldn't be in the Sharia at all. Actually, if federal law covers incest, it cannot be in any Sharia law. So the question of amending that or increasing or whatever shouldn't arise. So I don't know which state law did you say it was in? Mazara, were you? It shouldn't be there if that's the case. From my understanding, sorry?
And also that the power under the Sharia is Article 1118. So it is constitutional for Sharia courts.
No, it's not, because there's a federal list and a state list. The state list cannot encroach on the federal list.
Okay.
Incest is in the federal list. That's why it's in the penal code. It cannot be in the Sharia law.
Thank you.
That's why the question of constitutionality arises.
Number one, I just want to ask the pro-motion. Now, they're saying that majority of Muslims in Malaysia in support of 355. Please provide figures.
One question.
Do you believe in you say you believe in our federal constitution, right? So you believe that I, as a Malay, have a choice to be protected under our federal constitution. Now, you also have the right to enjoy whatever you believe, because I don't believe you're Islam, okay? I have my own version of Islam in which I believe is much more compassionate, much more loving than what you are trying to portray to the world. But that's okay. So do you agree that if we, the Malays like me, who do not agree with your version of Islam, should we be allowed to leave you to choose your version of Islam, but not to pull us in together with you? Okay? But finally, I want just to make a statement. All this while, I have always known the local students, the law students that study locally, they do have a problem in interpreting our federal constitution. And why is this? I now it's proven to me. It's proven that they cannot see what the opposition are trying to put, saying. I mean, Ambiga is simply asking, why are you not actually giving the exact punishment for every offences? You say leave it to the politician.
Okay.
What if we have a mad politician, who say, oh, punish her for 100 lashes for not wearing tudung?
Okay, Siti.
Is that justified?
Point taken.
Actually, I would like to read straight away the paragraph from a judgment by Justice Hamid Sultan
Ladies and gentlemen, please quieten down.
in the case of Indira Gandhi, which is directly in point. Because if we all accept the federal constitution as the supreme law of the federation, we should accept what is being said in this paragraph. The state laws relating to the religion applies to all Muslims. So whether it applies to Siti Kasim, it depends on her, whether she is a Muslim or she is not. Whether born Muslims or converts, once a person is born and bred as a Muslim or becomes lawfully as a convert, he is expected to respect the sanctity of the religion. The law here, as well as the Rukun Negara, does not allow a Muslim to hide behind constitutional provision to say he has freedom to choose the religion. However, constitutional framework and Rukun Negara will assist all Muslims if the state laws are unconstitutional and or impinges on the rights of the Muslim or creates hardship to a Muslim when a Muslim's Sharia personal law as advocated by the Sunni sect, namely Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali or Maliki, does not require the Muslim to go through such hardship. State laws for Muslims which does not conform to the Sunni sect can always be challenged, and it is provided for in all state Sharia legislation. So what it is said here is that first, once you are Muslim, it does not say that you do not have right. You do have right, but you cannot hide behind the constitutional provision to say that I am not bound by certain Sharia law. You cannot hide behind that. But when you are charged under certain sections of the Sharia provision, you have right to defend yourself in the Sharia court. The problem that we have today, as I have mentioned before, is the fear-mongering. The perception as if Sharia court is so bad, it will not give a just decision. The perception. Whereas if you would just go to the Sharia court and fight for your right there, you will get your right.
Okay.
The problem with Lina Joy, because my learned friend mentioned about Lina Joy, the problem with her is not that she does not have the right to choose her religion, but rather is the arrogance because she does not want to have the declaration to be heard in the Sharia court. She wants to straight away to go to the civil court. Whereas
Please respect the speaker.
it is clear that any matters falling under the jurisprudence of the Islamic law falls under the power of the Sharia court. It is not.
If you are not interested in my opinion, then why are you here and why am I here? Okay? I thought that at the very least, we can agree to disagree. At the very least. Because we're lawyers. If you cannot hear a differing opinion, you shouldn't be a lawyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, calm down.
But I will say this, I'm sorry, but this whole thing about how fear-mongering and, you know, you shouldn't use such terms, frankly. Everyone complains about the courts. Not just the Sharia courts, everyone complains about the civil courts. That's part of that goes with the turf, okay? The way you acquit yourself, a judge or whatever acquits themselves is in the judgments that they write. Then they acquit themselves. But you cannot complain that people are complaining about the Sharia courts because people complain about courts all the time. And quite frankly, when you say that the Constitution, or we disagree, lawyers disagree all the time. We wouldn't have cases in court if we didn't. But that's what makes this country special, okay? We are a democracy. And if you say our federal constitution is colonial, you are wrong. Because it was the alliance government, it was all the parties, including the rulers. It is the most well-drafted, and we had so much input in it, okay? It may be on the Westminster model, but please don't insult all those people who sat and handed in 100 over memoranda. This is our Malaysian constitution, and we should be proud of it.
Mentioned by Aidil is that we allow people who are not in that particular subject matter to speak about the issue. Bukan ahli di bidangnya. I think that's the issue. And we all get confused. My question to Aidil, we have two sets of lawyers here, and in fact, the one who just spoke also is a lawyer. Why do we have these disparaging views, opposing views on this particular issue? Thank you.
I think the problem in Malaysia is actually sorry I have to say it, is the lack of knowledge or the lack of understanding how things has worked or how things are working. If you don't mind, the issue in relation to Islamic law, there are ta'zir. Ta'zir can change and you can change. It's not immutable, right? What we have in our enactments are not even full hudud. There are, as I mentioned just now, we have been having 3 or 4 types of hudud for 60, 70 years, and it has never been an issue, right? What the Muslims are asking is just merely increasing the sentences in the Sharia courts, right? Now, when we are a subject of a nation, we must abide by laws which has been passed by the parliament, right? You may have your own values, but if the parliament thinks that is not the value it should be and they pass a law, we must respect the law. All Islamic laws, that is what I'm trying to say, all Islamic laws are democratically passed. If you disagree, you can go to the state legislature to lobby for a change. That is there. But because you cannot do that, you just cannot say that because of this, you don't want to comply. Then we will have a chaotic nation. It can lead to anarchy, right? So that is why a number of things. And if I may rebut a number of things, all this while, since we have Merdeka, our Islamic laws has never been the same. It has always been different from one state to another state. Why? Because we have a legacy also. Each sultan has its own power and its own views. And if you don't realize this, even police has a different school of thoughts, right? So arguing that you must see all the states to have a similar offences, it doesn't recognize what is on the ground, what is being practiced in the constitution, what is all the institutions are doing. And to argue that as unconstitutional, I find it, Datuk, I find it extremely amazing. Right? It cannot be like that. How can we have a gap of knowledge very far? What is practiced on the ground, what is practiced for so many years, with what is being contended right now. And that is why we are having this fight. Right? Try to understand what is happening from history, from a number of things. Because we have been living apart, that is why I have an issue. Those who have been following, I am more for satu sekolah untuk because we don't meet, we don't try to understand each other. And because of that, we have a problem of perception and prejudice.
Okey, saya nak bertanyakan dua soalan. Okey, kita sedia maklum yang agama Islam adalah agama persekutuan. Kenapa kita momokkan cerita yang kita sukula? Dalam perlembagaan dah termaktub di 3 fasa 1 yang mengatakan agama kita persekutuan. Okey, jadi kenapa nak menghasut atau menceritakan keadaan yang tidak patut untuk ceritakan?
The question satu.
Okey, the question yang kedua. Okey, soalan saya yang kedua. Kita sedia maklum Islam adalah pertama di Malaysia. Kita sedia maklum 70% kita orang Melayu. Jadi bila isu ini dimomokkan, isu ini dipening-peningkan, so dekat sini ada nampak resis. Sedangkan Melayu tidak mempertikaikan mana-mana agama untuk buat perayaan ataupun apa sekalipun. Tetapi kenapa bila orang Melayu nak mempertahankan agama Islam, kami dipertikaikan? Why?
Yang telah menyoal tadi, saya minta maaf lah. Pendirian saya yang telah saya berkongsi tadi tidak berniat untuk memperlekehkan. Sebaliknya, saya sebagai seorang yang menganuti agama Islam, percaya saya berhak untuk menyuarakan Islam yang saya faham. Dan sekiranya saya tersilap, saya memang rela untuk dibetulkan. But to suggest, kalau puan kata Melayu 70% di Malaysia, umat Islam 70%, saya rasa kita perlu ingat selepas Perang Dunia Kedua tamat dan satu dunia sedah betapa kezaliman yang telah berlaku di Germany. We have the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Prinsip majority rule tidak bermakna minority tidak ada hak.
Has there been any significant consideration by all 4 members of the panel with regards to the genesis of this legislation, a piece of legislation, in its reality, where you have MPs being coerced, I do not want to use the word coerced, being told to compel to vote on this bill in favour because of their religion, or being told bluntly out that as a non-Muslim, I cannot question this. Understanding, and I'm grateful for Bebas having this platform for conversation, and I think it's important that people who agree and disagree have it civil in this room and outside of this room. You can have a teh tarik after this and talk about this without mudslinging or without necessarily calling each other names. I think it's important for us to have that conversation, and with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.